7 or so. So I'll call the meeting back to order. We have been in closed session. I've got readouts now, right? No, afterwards. That's right. That's after the Pledge of Allegiance. So that's welcome, everyone. And will Mr. Assam Sheikh lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
My honor. Put your hand on your heart and begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
As I get older, this agenda gets smaller. I don't know how that happens. Do I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
Move to adopt?
All in favor?
Aye.
Good. Report of closed session items, which I have many. First item is public employee discipline, dismissal, and release. The Board of Education at its meeting of June 17th in closed session took action to accept the resignation of certified employee case number 04-1819 from employment with the Torrance Unified School District effective at the end of workday, June 21st, 2019. The roll call was 4 ayes and 1 no, Mr. Hahn. And then we will do Mr. McDowell now, right?
Aye.
Okay, in closed session, the board made the following administrative appointment. Scott McDowell, Director, State and Federal Projects, effective June 18th, 2019. Scott began his service in the district in July of 2001 as an assistant principal at North High School. In July of 2004, he was hired as principal at South High School, where he served for 14.5 years. He has served as acting director, state and federal projects since January 22nd, 2019. During these last 5 months as acting director, he has attended several LACOE trainings ranging from workshops on LCFF, LCAP, consolidated applications, CalPAD, site council training, the federal Addendum, May Revise, consolidated applications, federal program mentoring, as well as the monthly director, state and federal project trainings.
Is that all?
It's taken me 12 years up here. I don't know what half of that stuff is. So he recently completed the 2019-20 LCAP, which I do know what that is, which was approved by the LCAP Parent Advisory Council and the DELMAC English Learner Parent Advisory Committee, and submitted for June 17, 2019 board approval. Scott will take the position as Director, State and Federal Projects effective June 18, 2019. We would like to congratulate Scott, and he can go up and say whatever he wants.
Apparently I'm in charge of all acronyms.
Yeah, I think so.
I would just like to take a moment to thank the board, thank Dr. Mann, and thank Dr. Crumpy for this opportunity. The last 5 months have been a very different experience for me, having spent the last 28 years exclusively on high school campuses. It's a big shift for me, and one that I have enjoyed immensely and look forward to for many years. So I thank you all very much.
Thank you. Okay. Staff presentations, report from the Torrance PTAs, Council of PTAs.
So, hi. This is my absolute last time up here as council president. I know I'm trying to contain myself, but I really have had a really amazing couple of years, and I'm so thankful. I would like to thank the Board of Education, cabinet members, just the school district at large for being incredibly supportive, not only of me in this role, but of all the PTAs across Torrance. We have such an amazing school district and such an amazing community, and being at this role and serving on council has really given me a very unique opportunity, a very special opportunity to see kind of the underpinnings, and I don't know how any of you do it. It's really, really amazing. We have some of the best teachers and some of the best administrators and the best schools, and I'm just so proud and so grateful for the opportunity to have gone this journey and to have had you guys as our partners, and I'm just excited. And I would like to introduce Denise Spellman, who is our incoming council president, to give our first official report. Denise is an accomplished PTA leader. She started her PTA career years ago at UConn as a PTA president, as her very first role, which is quite a task. And for anyone who knows Denise knows that she throws herself into everything full force. She read every piece of material, went to every single meeting. She is Miss PTA. Was a board member several times over at Magruder Middle School and at North High, and even after her daughter graduated, she stayed on to be the president at North High School, served several years at council, wears tons of hats there, including chairing the Project Hope initiative that we launched several years ago under Alicia Allen. She's just amazing, and I'm really, really excited and hopeful to see what her leadership will bring to the city and children of Torrance. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Wow, I hope I can do as good a job as she has. So she's been awesome. I'm glad that she's going to stay on and kind of be my shadow as well. But I'd like to say thank you, President Lee, esteemed board and cabinet members. I am honored to be leading such a great, amazing group of PTA leaders and children advocates. I look forward to working with each of you in the coming school year. I'm also excited to announce that we are partnering with the Angels Baseball Organization, whoop whoop, sorry, I'm an Angels fan, and co-hosting our first ever Project Hope Family Night on September 27th. So tickets will be $20. It includes a reserved section for TUSD family. Also, it is Mike Trout giveaway night. Yay! So make sure you get there early. So a portion, of course, of each tickets that are purchased does go back to Torrance Council PTA and Project Hope. So please purchase tickets. Tickets can be purchased online through the Torrance Council of PTA.org website. We'll also make sure that we can get an email out to all of the families through TUSD as well as through all the surrounding schools and units. And thank you in advance for your support. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Reagan.
Yes. Actually, I just wanted to say to Mrs. Nolan before she's finished that we did miss you at our recognitions meeting and having the opportunity to thank you for your service as PTA president for council. So here and now, thank you very much.
Good. Okay, well, welcome aboard, and at the same time, we'll miss Nanette and go on to bigger and better things. Presentation of the proposed 2019-2020, pardon me?
We forgot Torrance Education Foundation.
They're not on the agenda.
The first one.
Oh, see, oh, that's right, God. Here, I'm gonna put my glasses. There we go. Report from the Torrance Education Foundation, a little out of order, I'm sorry.
Good evening. I think Mr. Lee may be needing to leave school at the end of this term, too.
Yeah, I know, yes, get this thing. 15 months.
Thank you. Good evening to everyone. For 4 things to tell you this evening. First of all, we are looking forward to launching the first semester of SBEA Summer School next week. It is still open for registration, and we're still adding students. Several classes are waitlisted at the moment, and I would encourage anyone who might be thinking about sending their student to high school with us, do so, and we will move forward with that. And then, of course, elementary and middle school will start in July. Those are still also open for registration. We also have a fun event coming up. Many of you know that Jean Drevno was a wonderful, beloved member of our board and also an educator and also a community member who was very dedicated to the students at Sherry High, and we have a scholarship in her name at the Ed Foundation. Our annual Comedy and Magic Club event to raise funds to bolster the Jean Drevno Scholarship Fund has been set for September 18th. More information is available on our website, and will shortly be available on our Facebook page. So we encourage anyone who might be interested in joining us for a really fun night at Comedy and Magic Club on September 18th. Check that out and get your tickets, $25, and you help a student who's going to be graduating from Sherry High next year. Two pieces of exciting news that I want to share. Some of you already know that there's exciting news for me personally. I will be retiring at the end of this school year and helping this Education Foundation over the course of the summer find a fantastic person to step in and be the new executive director at the foundation. I wanted to make sure that everyone is aware of that. The job description is available on our website, and we are very eager to hear from candidates in our community who care about education, who know about fundraising, and might want to throw their hat in the ring and potentially be a candidate for this job. So look at our website or be in touch with us another way. And then the other piece of exciting news is I have several members of my board with me this evening who I'd like to ask to join me at the podium because we have a presentation to make.
Get the big check.
You almost missed out on that, Mr. Lee.
So I think everyone here knows that it's been our great privilege for the past several years to be a partner to the district in raising funds to fill all our 17 wonderful new elementary labs, science labs, with the equipment that it takes to do experiments. This is not a small undertaking. The labs themselves were built with bond funding, and we're grateful to the community of Torrance for passing the bonds that raised the funds to build the labs, prepare the sites, do all the plumbing, do all the air conditioning, do all the safety stuff. But a lab is not much good if you don't have petri dishes and skeletons and squids and all kinds of fun stuff that our kids can get in there and work with in order to really learn what it means to put science to work in their lives. So we are very happy today to have a check to present for the Phase 3 final round of labs. $328,000 to fill the last, how many? 8 labs, the last 8 labs with the contents that are required to give our kids a great, wonderful experimental time in the laboratory at all of our schools. So, we're all here for a photo op.
Thank you. Going out with a bang, Susan. Woo! Oh, we could be in the picture if we stand up. Why not? Maybe Tammy will see us. Maybe. We might be.
Just look at her. How about we do one without the photo?
It shows unity.
Maybe.
Inevitably, someone will ask for it next. Go for it now.
Oh, now we can go. Okay, yeah.
There we go.
I got a dog on his haircut too.
Yeah. Thank you. You're awesome.
Pick this up and put it behind the podium.
Put it in your pocket.
Don't take your thing. You'll take the money.
Yeah, give to Judy. She's got her ATM ready.
Yeah, Judy.
Give him yours.
Yeah. Okay, now we'll go to 8.3, which is presentation of the proposed 2019-2020 Local Control Accountability Plan. Dr. Crumpy.
Thank you. Good evening. Before we get started with the official presentation, I too want to thank Nanette Nolan and Jason Calazar, 2 of our parent reps on our LCAP advisory committee, and thank them for all of their work that they've done for numerous years now on that committee. And to Jason also, who sits on our Title I advisory committee and also our district communication, or our DCC, another acronym for you, Mr. Lee. And that's been very helpful in the and the continuity of the parent voice across our very many committees. And so I thank you both very, very much for that help. I also wanted to thank Dr. McDowell for all the work at completing the new LCAP summaries, the short version, and the formal LCAP document. A lot of time and work has gone into that, so thank you very much. Annually, after the advisory committee recommends the approval of the LCAP, we bring it forward to the board and to the community. New this year is the budget overview for parents. It's the first 3 pages of the long version of the LCAP. This new requirement is intended as to be an easier access to the LCAP and provide parents with budget information. We were hopeful that it would contain a bit more information. As a companion document, we created the LCAP plan summary with valuable input from our parent groups. I think we went back and forth and had about 12 different drafts of that version. Annie in our IT department helped us with the really good graphics on that document. In fact, even as she left for maternity leave, she was still helping us with different draft documents so we could make sure that we had accurate numbers for that document. I think along with the budget summary, we think this 6-page document will be the most helpful document moving forward when working with our community, and not the larger, even our short version of the LCAP or the 160-page long version. As you can see, another requirement is that we receive a lot of community input. Not that you can read all of these dates, but we have had multiple LCAP input sessions at school sites with our bargaining units, our principals, our favorite student input meeting, and a lot of our community parent advisory groups. For the second year in a row, you see now in really, really small font, multiple dates of LCAP input meetings from each site led by our site principals. We know when we get feedback from our parents that they feel more comfortable at their school site giving the feedback. It's more relative to them, and it's easier for them to access their school sites. So each of our school principals has had meetings with their teacher groups, school site councils, their LMAC, many times their PTAs, and then our principals are bringing that information forward as we help to advise into the LCAP. As a quick reminder, although this is year 3 of a 3-year plan, we do look at our dashboard, making sure that if there's any student data information that we get, that we take a look at our LCAP. The good news here, we do not have any orange or red areas in any of these categories that we have to go in and formally address. But we do have some subgroups. This is all information from our annual accountability report. District subgroups in orange or red that we have taken a special look and made sure that we have accounted for the needs of these students moving forward in the LCAP. Because we have ratified the tentative agreement for the LCAP, we have ratified the tentative agreement. The LCAP has been updated to reflect the pay increases for the 2019-20 school year so that our LCAP accurately reflects the budget allocation. We have 5 goals in our LCAP. The first 3 goals that I'm going to talk about tonight focus on a refinement of practice rather than a lot of new and different practices. Goal 1 focuses on what we are doing for all students, including a continued strengthening of our PLCs, professional learning communities, the implementation of our history social studies adoption, and an expansion of our dual enrollment and college and career opportunities for our high school students. Goal 2 continues to emphasize what we do when students need additional support, with a focus on early literacy, expanded summer opportunities besides and beyond Jump Start, and a deepening of understanding of our response to intervention or RTI process. Goal 3 provides support to our teachers and our classified staff so that they can best help students. We provide signature practices professional development for all teachers new to Torrance. We also provide opportunities for differentiation, providing training for our teachers based on what they tell us that they need. Next year, we have an added emphasis on special education, working with both our special education and general education teachers on how to best meet the needs of our students with disabilities. A lot of that, I'm not going to back up, but when you look at the subgroups in orange, our special education subgroup is in 4 of those areas, and so this is why you see some special emphasis in this area. You will see the most changes in our LCAP in our final 2 goals. Goal 4 shows a large increase in available mental health support services. Although you have already approved a contract with SAGE to provide high school mental health services, an additional $200,000 of monies have been allocated to support Sherry Continuation School and our middle schools moving forward next year. These monies came with the final budget allocation, as well as some cost savings in some of the other categories that we were able to reduce. This is based on input that we received from our parent groups saying, and our student groups. Actually, I think almost unanimously from every group that we met that this is an area that we really wanted to focus on. So we are excited that we have been able to find some additional funding to help our students. Additionally, we are providing social emotional learning curriculum in our elementary schools. You may recall last year that we added a day of week for every elementary school, all 17, in counseling at the sites. They spent last year working in classrooms and piloting a lot of materials to decide which materials that they wanted to go into classrooms to use. And they have selected second step materials that they will be implementing in the fall in our elementary schools. And finally, Goal 5 provides support for our parents. In addition to the newly formed District Communication Committee, and the work beginning with the development of the Strategic Communication Plan, we are partnering with the PTA, thank you, ladies, to provide parent trainings in the implementation of screen time for our kiddos, kicking off with 4 showings of the documentary Like on August 28th and 29th. This will be followed up with additional parent supports throughout the year, all focusing on screen time and the implications for our students. Many sites are also offering PK, which is a Parent Institute for Quality Education, and classes that the schools that have done this year have had strong parent feedback for the value, and many more schools are looking to bring this group forward to help the parents next year. Finally, in addition to the next steps that you see listed, we have a new requirement, and yet something else that Dr. McDowell has done in his interim position is a federal addendum. Although our short version of the LCAP provides information on how we spend our federal monies, this is not required, and it is not part of the longer LCAP. This addendum will be part of the approval process during next week's meeting. It was actually tabled from the state a year ago. I think Mr. Egan had parts of it ready, and then at the last minute, the state postponed the implementation that will then show how we complement the spending of the federal monies with our LCAP. So you will see that on our next board agenda. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any comments from the board? I'll have one, and I've got one card. I thought the short, very visual, Mrs. Reagan printed it out, yes.
Yeah, this one. Yeah.
Took about half
Yeah, I liked it too.
the ink in my printer, but anyway, that's okay.
Pretty.
It's very pretty.
Looks good.
But I think that is an incredible document. In fact, I actually shared it with the city council because the demographic information on the first page is,
Good, yeah.
gives, I think, them a little different view of the community that they don't see at that level, and will help them as they go through their strategic plan, because, as usual, the reason why people live in Torrance and their number one positive experience from what they've learned in the strategic plan, as Mr. Gerson's found out, is the Torrance Unified School District. So I figured I would share. I would like to call up Jason Calazar.
Hi, good evening, Board, Dr. Mann, and district officials. As you heard, my name is Jason Calazar. I am the parent of a 6th grader here in Torrance Unified at Casimir Middle School. This is the 3rd year of the LCAP, and I've had the pleasure of serving as a parent advisor for all 3 years. I think when Governor Brown put this LCAP and LCFF together in 2012, the model that we see here in Torrance Unified in terms of the parent involvement is something what is exactly what he envisioned. As a parent, my input has always been valued and always been solicited. So it feels of value. So I would encourage all the parents in the audience and for the 3 watching at home. I'm sorry, the 7. To get involved in the LCAP process through your site councils. You've most, like Dr. Crumpy mentioned, you feel most comfortable at site council. That's where this all started at site council at Lincoln Elementary. And here I am today serving on numerous committees because it's important work. It works best when we work collaboratively and together in finding those solutions. And to that end, I want to thank the board and district officials too in addressing the seriousness of mental health issues that are facing our student populations today. Most recently, this body reached out to Supervisor Hahn, inquiring as to where our share of the $17.4 million is to address that. It's an ongoing process.
Still haven't gotten a response.
Yeah, neither have I, shocker. But it's a step, and as you see in the goal 4 of the LCAP, there's serious monies allocated toward that end. But it's the beginning, and if we don't address it early on, I always say that the children that we see today are the adults of tomorrow, and it is absolutely true. So with that, I want to thank you for allowing me to speak tonight, and I want to wish everybody a wonderful and restful summer break, especially all the teachers at the 6th grade elementary, middle school level at Casimir who had to endure my son this year. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.
On a personal note, it's volunteers like you that make this district very different from other districts of our size. And you way above and beyond, even in the emails that we've shared recently. So I can't commend you enough for what you've done and everybody else that was involved in this process, because there's other sexier things to do in the evening than to go to these meetings and look at PowerPoint slides. But thank you very much, and please relay that to everybody that you see that helped with this process, because it is a long, arduous process, but the result is a much easier way to understand what we do than what I saw 12 years ago when I first sat up here. So, and her predecessor did a 57-slide presentation, so to be able to do it in 6 slides and have it make sense, it's a deals with my ADD much better than most. So, Mrs. Reagan's.
57 slides, that might be a little exaggeration.
No, I don't think I
Mr. Lee.
exaggerated at all.
Okay. I just wanted to say thanks to everybody that was involved with creating the LCAP, and I wanted to point out to folks that are watching in the audience that there's been a huge effort to make the LCAP more accessible to everyone so that you can see what it contains, how it's being paid for, and what your school is doing for your students, whether they're in the general population or in the groups that are being specifically targeted. So please, in fact, in this presentation here on the board, there's 4 different versions that are listed here that we've really tried to make an effort to put it in terms that everybody can understand and utilize in your daily use. So thank you very much for your efforts. Appreciate it, all of you.
Well, good, no action is required, so we'll go to 8.4, report from the District Budget Committee, presentation of the proposed 2019-2020 budget. Dr. Stowe.
Actually, I'm going to first, if I may, Mr. Lee, offer a correction. I will concur that Dr. Crumpy's done a great job, but it was her predecessor's predecessor that had the 57
that's why
slide.
No, I'm sorry, I did not put enough predecessors in there.
So,
yes, I'm sorry.
So
It wasn't him, in other words.
I should have said former. That would have been better.
With that, I will turn it over to Mr. Hahn to talk about the budget, the district budget committee meeting that was held, and then I'll provide an overview of the proposed district budget.
Thank you, Dr. Stowe. The Budget Committee, comprised of 2 board members, me and James Hahn and Jeremy Gerson, and Superintendent's Cabinet, Dr. Mannon, Dr. Stowe, Dr. Crumpy, Ms. Chai, Dr. Liberati, Mr. Egan, Dr. Kim, and Mr. Mara, met to review the 2019-2020 budget. Judy Chai, the district's fiscal services officer, went over the assumptions that were used to develop the budget and the multi-year projection. Based on these assumptions, the district continues to budget under the local control funding formula. The district is deficit spending in the budget year, the 2 out years. The budget year and future year projections do not include any salary increases at this time. The projection indicates that district is able to maintain the required reserve for economic uncertainties of 3% before any salary increases. Much of this will be explained in detail during the budget presentation, which follows with Dr. Stowe.
All right, thank you, Mr. Hahn, members of the board. It's my pleasure to be able to present to you the proposed budget for the 1920 school year for the Torrance Unified School District. I would like to recognize Judy Chai, who's here, and her staff, who on a almost daily basis are making revisions and updates and making sure that what we are able to present at the first interim and then the second interim and then include all the changes in this proposed budget are able to do. And so it's through the diligent work and the leadership she provides in her department that we're able to do so much of the good work that we do here in Torrance. I will say that the numbers that I'm going to share with you tonight are based on the May revise. These do not include any action that the board may take tonight regarding agreements with employee groups or changes that may have happened between the May revise and the adopted state budget, and then ultimately some trailer bills that will follow. Any of those changes will be reflected within 45 days of the adoption of the state budget, and Judy and I will work to make sure that that those get presented to the board. So, as always, when we are looking at our budget, and we need to include the current year and the 2 out years, right? So you have 18-19 shown here as the assumption for where the numbers that we planned off of, but really this is a 19-20 budget. So we're using 19-20 as the first year, and the 2 out years are 2021 and 21-22. And so we'll go through and share this information. As you can see, and we've talked about it before, we have a slight declining enrollment between 100 and 150 students that we plan for on an annual basis. And again, remember, the ADA and enrollment, 2 separate things. Enrollment is the number of students that we serve. ADA is the average daily attendance. And as I've said before, we're one of the highest districts in the state with regard to average daily attendance. Our schools work really, really hard to make sure that kids come every day and are there to learn and be engaged, and that we want them there. And that's how we get funded, on an ADA basis and not on enrollment. We do receive some lottery money, and that's not changing in the next couple years. And that funding comes directly from the state. Other assumptions that we make, and it affects the budget, as you are well aware, are the STRS and PERS rates. And so you can see the STRS and PERS rates there. Already there are some changes based on the adopted budget that we'll be making to adjust some of these numbers. It's a constantly moving target. Judy was saying earlier today when we were discussing this, because they're constantly in committee there were several changes that happened here in the last few weeks since the May revise. And then salary schedule increase, it shows none. However, for the 1920 school year, there is action for you to take under the discussion action items tonight with regard to that. The total cost of the increase in STRS and PERS for next year is projected at $1.36 million. Other assumptions that we make are just straight calculation, right? So there's no longer the gap funding that we received in the past, because when Governor left office, the LCFF was fully funded. And so we're looking at, based on the increase in funds, an increase in base funds of base grant funds from of $5.6 million roughly, and supplemental funds, which again are addressed through the LCAP of $772,000, not million, and for a total increase of $6.34 million. This is different than in past years. We do not have the benefit that Governor Brown had put in place of a number of years for one-time discretionary funds for sites for schools to use. In the past, we've done a good job of managing those so that they do not become ongoing dollars. And the schools this year, actually, back in June of 2016, the board had allocated quite a bit of money to schools for furniture and equipment and capital expenses, and most of the schools spent those dollars very judiciously, and I think this is the last year that they spent most of those accounts down to zero. So they got a long-term benefit of planning and using those funds that you had set aside, and the benefit will continue for many years. This slide shows the deficit spending that Mr. Hahn mentioned. You can see the total revenue and expenditures, and that last column is the amount of money that we intend to spend more than we receive. You have ending projection for ending fund balances, beginning and ending fund balances. And those ending fund balances translate into what we are required to have, and that's a 3% reserve for economic uncertainty. And in each of the years, we are projecting to have greater than the required 3% reserve. So, but as we've talked about for a number of years, that the deficit spending, we need to keep that cushion, because we kind of over the course of the 3 years, we get closer and closer to that 3% required. When districts have a surplus above the 3%, we need to, based on Ed Code 42127, report out what we're doing with that money and why we have more than 3%. So we've got a total of about $18 million in surplus, and 7.6% or 7.6 million of that meets the required 3% reserve, and the other 13 million is to balance the budget for future years to address those potential economic uncertainties. And so what we have next, Monday night, this coming Monday, we're going to ask you to adopt this budget. And then based on that and action that's taken tonight and information we received from the state on the adopted budget, that we will make those budget revisions within 45 days. So at this time, I'll take any questions.
Mrs. Reagans.
Yes, actually, you mentioned that, and in fact, we are deficit spending this year, as well as several years up until now, as well as years into the future, probably. Can you address that, just to let folks know that that's not because of mismanagement, it's not accidental, but in fact, it's kind of intentional?
It is, and it goes back to when money started coming back after the recession. We had built up a 20% reserve at that time, and it was the direction of the board to spend down to 3%. And so, we've held true to that, and we have taken care of employees since then in the form of salary raises. We've added some programs and certain services based on needs that we have discovered and addressed through surveys and meetings with parents and staff. And so that has been planned, and I think we've done collectively a very good job of making sure that that third year keeps us in a good position, but at the same time allows us to keep things in place where we're able to really serve the children and the community that we're here to serve.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Stowe. Any more comments? No? So there we go. Well, now we'll go into public hearings. 9.1, public hearing on the adoption of the 2019-2020 Local Control Accountability Plan.
TEF is leaving. Getting good.
Dr. Crumpy, no, we just need to open the hearing. So I'll hear a motion to open it. Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone from the audience? Do we need a motion to close? Motion to close.
You can just close.
Motion.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Good, we did that. Public hearing, yeah, long hearing. Public hearing on the adoption of the 2019-2020 budget. Do a motion to open the hearing. Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody out there? Okay, good. Motion to close?
Motion to close. Move to close.
Okay, good. All those in favor?
Aye.
Good, okay. We'll now go into the oral communication part of the budget. And 10.1, Board of Education welcomes input from the public in order to discuss district business in an orderly manner for the privacy and safety of the speakers and to help staff respond more directly. The board policies require that public presentations of the board comply with certain procedures, including speakers to non-agenda items may address only items that are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the board. Time allotted for such presentation is limited to 3 minutes. Total time allocated for public input on non-agenda items is limited to 30 minutes. A speaker may not relinquish his or her time to another. When addressing the board, speakers are requested to state their name, address, and address the president from the podium and adhere to the applicable time limits. Complaints against employees or students will normally be heard in closed session, and the district complaint procedure should be followed before discussion with the board. The board may remove disruptive individuals and order the room cleared if necessary. Any person who willfully disturbs any public school board meeting is guilty of a misdemeanor EC 32210. So we have some cards. We will start with Sandy Hutchinson of Seaside Elementary.
Sandy here? Oh, there she is.
Hello, I'm here. All right, Mr. President, School Board, and Cabinet. My name is Sandy Hutchinson from Seaside Elementary. I want to thank you for working with the TA negotiations team to help rebuild the trust that was lost last year so we could finally ratify a contract this year. Going forward, I hope you will continue to focus on students and teachers and not programs and positions. As teachers, we need you to trust us to meet our students' needs. Each student, class, and school is unique. Please ask us what we need before starting programs and adding positions. We need help with both academically and behaviorally struggling students. I, as well as other teachers, would like to use the elementary RTI teachers for Fontes and Pinnell testing and as intervention teachers. Some elementary schools got assistant principals. We could use one too, or at least a full-time counselor. As a staff, we voted to add 2 days for our counselor, but we're told we didn't have enough money in our budget. Trust us to use PLC time to help our students. We didn't go into teaching for the money. We are teachers because we want to teach, which is getting harder every year. Trust us to use PLC time to help our students in a way that works for our unique students, classes, and schools. Please stop asking me to support the YMCA's PE program that I have to supervise. We love our PE teachers. Instead of having 2 or 3 teachers at a school, use 1 teacher and an aide or Y coach. With the money saved, maybe all 100 minutes could be covered with 2 50-minute sessions. Clustering special students without the extra support they need makes for unbalanced classes, which are harder to teach and manage. Spread them across classrooms, schools, and make sure the teacher has the support they need from the start of the year. Please treat us like the professionals we are and give us the support we need to support our students. Thank you.
Thank you. Kristen Nyland.
Thank you for having me. My name's Kirsten.
We can't
Oh,
hear you.
yes.
There we go.
There we go. My name's Kirsten Nyland. I've been a lifelong community member of Torrance, and I've also been a teacher here for 23 years. I've taught reading recovery at Adams for 4 years, kindergarten for 2, and the last 17 years at Seaside teaching first grade. I'm extremely grateful for a rewarding career. However, my last 2 years of teaching first grade have become less about providing education to all students and more about managing and documenting the behavior of some of my students. I have 27 students, all with many different needs, including 3 students with academic IEPs and other services, 4 more with speech IEPs. 4 of my students also go to counseling services. My class has 2 paraeducators that support 2 of the students who are more than 2 years behind academically, and a 3rd student qualified this year for special ed services in my class. There are increasing numbers of students coming from launch in clusters getting support from 1 paraeducator. The classroom environment is no longer the calm, consistent environment needed for learning. The students are coming and going constantly, and we don't always have consistent support to meet their needs. Many times, 1 or both of the paraeducators in my class have called for a substitute, and 1 has not been sent. We have had to pull people from other rooms to cover in their absence, and it is extremely disruptive. The stress of the system is causing medical issues that are making me think of taking a leave of absence next year. The system needs help. If the students come from launch with a cluster or a paraeducator, if the students coming from launch, with a cluster or a paraeducator could start the day in the learning center with the support they need, it would help us a lot. The classroom teacher could start the day with minimal disruption, and the students with special needs could start their learning center lessons and their services. The students would join the class after the snack recess at 10:30. This would also ensure that all paraeducators are present or have a substitute. We would be able to make more progress with less stress for the students and the teachers. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Sherry Legger.
Okay, my stomach's rumbling, sorry. Good evening, Dr. Mannon and board members, Mr. Lee. I have questions, so I'm not sure how I approach this. I'm a parent of the West Torrance area, and I had questions regarding athletic programs and was wondering if those could be answered.
You can ask, we may not be able to respond, but we can
Right.
get the right people to you.
Right. One question was, what are the district's rules on fundraising dollars to be used on bus fees, which are donations?
Okay, somebody's writing them down, we'll get you answers.
Okay, perfect. Another one, can fundraising dollars be used to pay for uniforms or for children who cannot pay for themselves if this is not disclosed at the beginning of the year in the parent meeting with the athletic department?
Okay, well, I see somebody taking copious notes. Good.
Okay.
Or maybe she could give us.
If requesting an audit of an athletic team, athletic team's intake of funds, expenses, and fundraisers for previous years, what is the time frame for the district to provide that information? And I believe Shelley Morris told me that Judy Csea is my contact.
Yeah, but I would imagine that Mr. Egan, since it's a high school, will get that to the
Okay.
right person, yes.
And who generates the school bus rules for the athletic department?
Okay,
Is it by the district or by the school?
okay, good.
So it's, we have students who are on athletics and they're required to ride the bus to a game and/or return home on the bus, and we need to know what are the rules required by the district or the school? Who makes those rules?
Okay, good.
Okay.
Great.
What are the rules when filing a complaint against an employee? Does the school provide you with the information, or is this left to the parent to figure out? So if.
No, that is on our website. It's a board policy.
May I make a
Yes,
suggestion?
Dr. Mannon.
Thank you.
She gives us the question.
If she could send that as an email to Mr. Egan.
Yes.
There are several different people that are involved with
Yes.
the questions
Right.
she's asking, but if you would send them directly to him, he'll sort them through in terms of who actually can answer those questions.
That's good. And CC the board, just
Sure, that's-
so we see it.
Is it, I don't remember reading it, is the time frame 60 days after a complaint is filed for a,
We'll get you that answer.
okay? Those are my questions.
Great, thank you. And then, yeah, you could organize it into an email, CC the
Absolutely.
board, we'll see it.
Absolutely.
And then to Dr. Egan, or Mr. Egan, I'm promoting him too quickly. And then we'll get right back to you.
Okay.
I think this week's a little hectic with graduations, but
Yes,
we'll try to be timely.
We understand. But I want to thank you for giving me the time, and I want to thank the chair parents, if you'd please stand up, that have come here with me
Okay.
for this meeting. Thank you.
Mr. Egan, would you give her your email address?
I have his email.
We actually have a meeting scheduled for Thursday.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Good, and then Janine Fuller.
Hello there. I wrote something and I did a major edit on it. My daughter Karen has done 4 years of cheer at West High and graduated a year ago. And my issue is with the fundraising accountability. We had problems when she was attending. Cheer is one of the most expensive sports, as you know. And so we do a lot of fundraising. And each year, the 4 years, I raised a lot of money, and I was always told that I was the top fundraiser. I don't know if that's true, but that's what I was told. And so Karen's senior year, I raised $2,350. And $250 of this amount was in gift cards donated by Walmart, Ralph's, and Vons. And that is one of my issues with the gift cards. All the other donations are made out in checks to West High Cheer, which get turned into ASB. You know, they log them in and process them. My concern is what happens to the gift cards that I was able to get. There's no accountability for them. Did they get used for cheer? Did something happen to them? I don't know. I think we should have a requirement where the gift cards get turned into ASB2 so that they are properly logged. I was always told that if we hosted the snack bar, which we did at some basketball games, that the money would be used to buy supplies, of course, and then we sell them and make our money. But the parents are always asked to bring in all the supplies. I never saw where the gift cards were used to buy the supplies. You know, and again, I wasn't in charge of the gift cards once I gave them or turned them in, so I don't know what happened to them. I had made a suggestion at the beginning of Karen's senior year that the cheer parents be sent an email each month. Maybe just a simple spreadsheet, our income for the previous month and our expenses and our balance. Any business will have that, but we don't have that in cheer. And so we never know how much have we made, and we spend a lot of money, and we want to know what the balance is. We want to make sure that our money is being put to good use. I don't think it would be that difficult to send an email out to the parents each month. Let's see, we also put on cheer clinics for the elementary, middle school kids, and they sign up and pay an amount, and they're always told to bring their snacks and water. And I was told my gift cards were being used for snacks. It doesn't seem like they were. And also, we pay a lot of money up front for competitions. And sometimes a competition, I don't think they've been canceled, but once or twice, they decide not to go to a particular competition. And as far as I know, we never got any refund, on the competition fees. So basically, that's what I wanted to say. We need transparency on the accounting for our fundraisers, our income, and our expenses with a month-to-month posting. And this has been an issue for the last 5 years. And it's probably still going to be an issue in the future until that starts happening, because it's an expensive sport. We need to treat it with top priority in the accountability. It will prevent rumors of some people saying, what's happening to our cheer money? Is something happening to it? Is someone using it without our permission? So that's what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Egan will get to all of you people. Thank you for coming out. You can all ditch us now if you want to. The rest of the meeting's kind of boring, so you don't have to hang around. It's not going to hurt our feelings. And we are going to go into the next part of our agenda. All by ourselves, it looked like. So,
Good night.
11.1, instruction of the public, speakers wish to address the board on agenda topics are permitted 3 minutes per topic. Total time granted for public input shall be limited to 30 minutes per topic. The board policies require that the public presentation to the board comply with certain procedures, including items 2 through 4 listed in oral communications. Item 11.2, approve the excused absence of a Board of Education member. Do I have a motion and a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Good.
Do I get to say anything?
Yes, you can. I'm sorry, I didn't have a light on.
So you went through that so fast. So I wanted to thank all of you. So with the passing of my mother, Bella Hirigoyen, I want to thank all of you for the support you've given me and the cards and the gifts. Thank you, Mr. Hahn, for coming out and attending my mother's funeral. Thank you, Mrs. Liu, not only for attending, but your words were very touching, very kind. And a special thank you to Mr. Lee, who has been so incredibly supportive, even more so. You've taught me so much about how to help someone else through the process, and I appreciate that. And the TCPTA left, but I want to thank them. At the same time that we were at the funeral, I heard that they gave a moment of silence for my mother, who was serving on 2 different PTAs at the time. So I just want to thank everyone for the enormous support. As a teacher, walking numerous students through parents with, and I remember parents, aunts, grandparents coming out with cancer, and being able to support them. One of the jobs that is not in the list of job descriptions for a teacher, and yet it's something that we do. And I guess what I want to is just thank you to all the teachers out there who are being supportive of our students, who are going through the situations. And something that just struck me after my mother passed and the oncologist came in to just meet with the family and say his goodbyes is my mother had 5.5 months after diagnosis till passing. And he had said that, on TV you'll see that there's this war on cancer. And that's a complete lie. There is no war. There is cancer. And we've become really good at removing some organs and some glands and irradiating the area around it and helping people survive. But there really is no cure. And there are a lot of organizations who are supporting, and we do a lot to also help. And in any case, I just wanted to make those comments and thank everyone for being so understanding. At my missing, the day after my mother's passing, I didn't think it would be appropriate for me to be coming, taking pictures and trying to smile. So thank you very much for your understanding.
Yeah, thank you. Item 11.3, to accept the approval to accept the resignation of Donna Duperon from the Independent Citizens Oversight Committee and to advertise to fill the current vacancy. Do I have a motion and a second?
Moved.
Second.
Another from Sam. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Approval of the Torrance Unified. With regret, yes. Approval of the Torrance Unified School District, Torrance Teachers Association Collective Bargaining Agreement, and the public disclosure of said agreement. Do I have a motion and a second?
Second.
Okay, Dr. Stowe.
Thank you, Mr. Lee, members of the board. As you know, the Torrance teachers ratified the tentative agreement with the district with a percent of 92% of teachers voting to approve the contract and the agreement. The agreement includes a 2.5% salary increase effective July 1, 2019. No retroactive pay, which certainly simplifies things for the staff in our payroll department to have to manage that and get those out. So that would go into effect July 1st with your action tonight. The public disclosure is the AB 1200 document that is attached to the item, and that basically tells the county whether or not we can afford it. And so we've gone through and worked with the county along on each of the bargaining units, because the next 4 items are the other 3 bargaining units plus the unrepresented and administrators. And so the AB 1200 lists all of those, all the employees as part of this agreement. So if you have questions on that, please ask. Also, I'd like to add that part of the agreement with the Torrance Teachers Association is a school calendar for the 2020-21 school year. School will begin, teachers will begin work that year on August 24th, which is a Monday, and students will begin on August 26th, which is a Wednesday. And we will be posting this on our district website tomorrow.
Anything?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, so that is a final calendar that people should depend upon, or is there a possibility that there'll still be alterations?
No, this is the final calendar that we that was part of this agreement with the teachers.
Thank you.
And nothing else? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Good. Item
Congratulations.
11.5, approval of the Torrance Unified School District, California School Employees Association, Csea, Chapter 19, Collective Bargaining Agreement, and the public disclosure of said agreement. Do I have a motion and a second?
Move to approve.
All those in favor?
Aye.
11.6, approval of Torrance Unified School District, California School Employees Association, Csea, Chapter 845, Collective Bargaining Agreement, and public disclosure of such agreement. Do I have a motion and a second?
Motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Good. 11.7, approval of the Torrance Unified School District, SEIU Local 99, Collective Bargaining Agreement, and the public disclosure of said agreement. Do I have a motion and a second?
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Well, somebody, pardon me?
Going back and forth.
Back and forth.
Okay.
Last week.
Oh, good, okay, I'm just thinking, okay. Usually I'm the one horsing around, so that's good. Approval of, 11.8, approval of salary increase for certificated management, classified management, supervisory, confidential, and unrepresented.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Unrepresented always sounded so lonely.
I know.
It does. Anyway, consent items, I'm actually going to pull 18.9 and 18.14. Does anyone else want to pull anything else? I'll make a motion to approve everything other than those 2 items.
Seconded.
Yeah.
Okay, good. First, second, whatever. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Good, okay. 18.9 is, it's me being the wonky insurance guy. But I noticed that our, what they call crime coverage, which includes employee dishonesty, we currently have a $10,000 self-insured retention, or what other people call deductibles, with a $1 million limit, and the premium is about $8,700 a year. You know, talked a little bit about staff about it, and it's like, well, we've never had a problem, and that's always what they say right before somebody takes $10 million away from you. Can we look at the carrier and see, I don't think those rates are linear. I think the more you buy, the less per thousand it gets to be. Can we look at a number of 5 or 10 million on that and see what that cost is?
Sure, absolutely.
I mean, there's homeowners associations I have insured that have bigger employee dishonesty numbers than this. So, I mean, not that we think anything's going to go bad, our employees are great, everything like that, but it's always the, oh no, I cleaned that up, moment. So can we look at that? They should be able to quote pretty easy.
So why don't you table that item, and then Dr. Stowe will review it and put it on an agenda and bring it back to you.
Well, I think you need to approve it because otherwise we don't have it in effect July 1.
And they can do a midterm change. So, I mean, it's not a big deal.
Yeah, so I'll get that information from our broker, which is Alliant, who represents many school districts throughout the state, so.
Yeah, and they're pretty easy to deal with. I dealt with them when we did the insurance for the Ed Foundation. So I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, item 18.14 is the approval of extension of ground leases for the YMCA, North Torrance Girls Softball, North Torrance Little League, and Torrance Girls Softball League. On this one, as I went through it, and I've looked at it a few other times and just seemed like there were other things in the way of it, we have some little leagues that pay for water. We have some little leagues that don't pay for water. We have some little leagues that pay for electricity. We have some that don't. We've got the YMCA paying $340 for something. Is that per building on this site? Is that per square foot?
It's per building.
Per building. And then we've got for the first time ever in 12 years on the board, and Mrs. Reagan will be happy for me for this, is I actually went to the president's meeting of all the presidents in the South Bay. It's the first time I've left the premises as a school board member. And what I found interesting, we kind of got on this talk of facility management and normalcy as far as everybody kind of being held to the same standards and same rules and same everything. So when I looked at this item, I kind of went, well, this is kind of helter-skelter a little bit. So maybe this is something we want to revisit. And I'm not going to do it this year, but we've got time. It's not critical. But then the other thing which I noticed is that other youth organizations pay other school districts and city for use of their fields. And as we go forward, field maintenance, all of those things are expensive. And what we're going to do to maintain those fields and those kinds of things. So can we kind of look and see what everybody else out there is doing as far as dealing with other youth sports organizations and how things are being handled in the field? I don't mean for like the club teams, but I'm talking about more the nonprofit, non-club kind of uses. And maybe get a report back September-ish, October-ish, so maybe it's, again, not a tomorrow kind of problem, but just to kind of look and see what we can do to standardize it, because it's just, I don't want to be in a situation where one little league looks at the other one and says, well, you know, we're paying for, you know, for water and you're not, or you know, to kind of electricity or not, or whatever that may be, and be able to look at that. And I know I rambled a bit here, but I think hopefully you got the general gist of that.
Yes. But, you know, part of that discussion, Mr. President, that we've already had and Dr. Stowe's already working on is that basically land use. And that was discussed with, Mr. Hahn brought that up. Do you want that as part of that larger study?
Yeah, put that as part of that. Yeah, that's probably a good place
and so that'd be like a chapter in the whole piece
story, yes.
that Dr. Stowe is putting together, because it'll fit together, I think, nicely that way, so everybody can understand it.
Good. Mr. Gerson.
Well, I was just listening to what you were saying and thinking about having visited these sites. With the North Torrance side of things, they actually have a permanent building where they have a snack bar.
Yeah.
And I know that the Torrance Girls Softball doesn't have a physical building for a snack bar, but they have a trailer that they have, right? So that would be why one would have electricity and the other would have electricity and water as a possible answer as to why.
The utilities, I think they have their own meters at those two schools, or at those two programs. They have their own electric meters. It's the water that's different. And then over at Levy, because of the way the site is, when Torrance Girls Softball put the trailer there for their snack bar, and I think they have another building there as well, because of the way the site layout is, we didn't ask them to put in another meter. We just charged them based on Jack Evans' estimation of how much he thinks they're using.
Okay, well, we just make it part of the report and we'll see what it all looks like. Okay, anybody else? Okay, good. Make a motion to approve.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, good. We are through it all. We have the board calendars attached. Comments from members of the board. I will start on the left. Mr. Gerson.
SoCal Rock? Oh, okay.
I was, just a couple of comments about the LCAP. Excited to continue to work and watch with you on the growth and design of RTI. Excited about hearing about how you're going to be addressing early literacy, and we were talking about, for those who can't see, I'm looking at Dr. Crumpy, that, discussing what the research said and the long-term benefits of that. Adding goal number 4, the focus on mental health, is something that we've discussed repeatedly and even had students come discuss, and I'm happy to see that. And with goal number 5, all of us being involved in the strategic communication plan. The only other thing was actually 2 more things. When Mrs. Hutchinson brought up not happy with the way that the YMCA PE time was, I think we discussed that was a school site decision, so that's something that she should talk to her principal about, because that's a site decision. Not all sites are doing it somewhere. And then it's interesting to have, I'm sorry, the parents keep leaving, but I know we had so many people here representing West High, and Mr. Egan and I know we've had numerous conversations about booster clubs and, who makes the financial decisions and the rules of booster clubs and what kind of financial records they have. So I'll be interested in hearing how that all turns out. So please keep me in the loop so I can continue to learn about that. Thank you.
Thank you. As a follow-up to Mr. Gerson's remark, I know that the board a year or 2 ago came up with I know it was for, I think, arguably affiliated groups to the high schools to have financial reporting requirements and those kinds of things. Would those rules also apply to the booster clubs?
Need to look at that, and if the requirement, and that was a couple of years ago, Mr. Lee, that information would go to the deputy superintendent's office.
Okay, good. We're giving you lots to do tonight. It's good.
We collect that annually. He should already have that.
Okay, good. Thank you. Mrs. Liu.
Can I respond to
Mr.
that?
Hahn.
Just out of curiosity, what do you collect on that? Just the revenue side, or do you get like spreadsheets, or?
No, we just get, it's really the purpose is more around insurance, to make sure that these organizations have insurance. So we collect their insurance documents and just a basic profit loss, expenditure report. So not a whole lot of detailed information each year. Francis Capistrano in my office collects it. And with schools that we know have booster groups that haven't sent things in, we'll request that from them. Those are for outside booster groups, right? That's not for a group that is within ASB, right? So the outside organization information we collect is for PTAs that might be doing things for the alliances. Actually, not PTAs. We don't collect PTAs. It's for alliances and booster clubs. The band boosters, the West High band boosters, for example, or Torrance High has a group, and North has a group, and South has a few booster groups.
Alumni Association.
Thank you.
Good, thank you. Mrs. Liu.
I recently attended a career technical education advisory board meeting, and I'm very happy to say that we have wonderful CTE classes. And in terms of computer science, next school year, we are going to have AP computer science principal classes in all 4 of our traditional high schools. I'm very proud of that. And actually, in middle schools, we also have app creator and the computer science app creator class and computer science for innovators and makers in 4 of our middle schools. I hope that we will continue to have a lot of other computer science classes in all our schools, and in addition to all our wonderful CTE classes, that includes fashion design and arts and whatnot. So I'm very proud of that about our school district. Another item I want to bring up is that I recently attended the South Bay Volunteer Center Heart to Heart Gala, which is their inaugural launch of their mental health focus on youth. I am very happy that they work with many different school districts, including our own, of course, here in the South, in Torrance and the South Bay and surrounding areas, in focusing on mental health and actually really addressing the growing problem of suicide, youth suicide, and prevention, hopefully, to lower the rate that it's accelerating at nationwide. Another event, I went to so many events, but for some of them, I want to point out that a few of us, James, Terry, and I attended the ATSA, Association of Torrance School Administrators, a celebration of leadership and awards and scholarship. It was a wonderful event where they recognized some of the wonderful administrators. They gave out a lot of scholarships to our graduating seniors. And in particular, I'm very proud that we have our own administrator of the year given to our secondary school director, Ben Egan. Congratulations.
Yay.
Yay. And then many of us here in administration, along with different school employees, participated in Richardson Middle School's Scholar Quiz. I think, Terry, we were involved in that. It was very exciting, and it is my hope that more PTAs in individual schools, especially in the middle school level or even elementary level, would come up with volunteers and come up with programs such as this. The Scholar Quiz is mainly kind of like a mini decathlon for the younger students. It's great training for them before they get to the high school decathlon teams, and basically trivia in many different subjects from history to geography to pop music and other pop culture things too. So I really like that. And math, of course, math, sciences, and all that. And I love that. Gosh, there's so many events, but I want to especially say, give a shout out to all the JROTC awardees at North High School's annual event. I was there along with a lot of city council members and my fellow board member, Terry Reagans. And I think that's just the 2 of us, right? And it's just wonderful. I believe North High School is the only school we have that has JROTC program. Is that correct? Yes. And it was wonderful to see all these cadets getting recognized for the hard work they've given and the devotion. And I think Terry probably has more to add on that one, but it is wonderful to hear one of our graduates, Randy Kwok, I believe, got accepted to the Naval Academy. That's a great achievement for him, and he's been participating in a lot of our local ROTC events representing the Naval Academy already. So, and last but not least, I want to just give a quick mentioning thank you again to Torrance Education Foundation for their annual scholarship reception. It's just mind-blowing how amazing, how many thousands of dollars are being given out to dozens of students, but how amazing the students are, the seniors are in our school district with their achievements, and they are just really briefly mentioning some of them, and their scholarship recipients from all 5 of our high schools that were present along with their parents, and it just makes me very proud of our school district and our education foundation for all that we've all done. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Reagans.
Yes, since you mentioned JROTC, both of the gentlemen that run that JROTC are retiring this year, so we will be missing Sergeant Major Duran and Sergeant Graham, so enjoy your retirement. I did want to mention for a moment, SoCal Rock did have a board meeting that I did not attend, but Dr. Mannon did attend in my stead. Did you have anything to say about that, Dr. Mannon, to give us a little tidbit?
Well, thank you, Mrs. Reagans.
I want to know.
There was an attempt to do a presentation with the person who was the presenter in their car. So I did not think it was a very effective
On the school services
presentation.
plan, remember? They were.
I believe that there's a disconnect between what the charge was to school services versus what the superintendent's questions have been. The school services is, and some of the superintendents have done a telephone interview already, but they are scheduling telephone interviews. I have one scheduled with Mrs. Csea and Dr. Stowe. I think it's on July 10th, maybe.
Okay.
And no, excuse me, it's not on July 10th. It's another day. And then they are meeting with superintendents who can make a meeting at the School Services Ontario Finance presentation on July 10th. In the afternoon. So we will be represented there also. But clearly, I think there is a disconnect in the communications of what school services should be doing.
Okay, but the process does continue, and they are
It does.
forming the committee of individuals from each of the JPA districts.
Don't think it's a committee
It's
as
not-
of yet.
Not yet.
I think it's individual comments coming back from school district superintendents and/or CBOs.
Okay. And they did talk about their budget. They are solvent, at least for another school year at SoCal Rock, so they will continue for another year, although they did not get a CTIG grant this year. But we'll move forward.
Which is a loss of $1 million.
It is money down, that they could have had accessible to them, but that's neither here nor there. They're working on the process, let's put it that way. So that's all I know about SoCal Rock, but I do have a couple of other things. One of the things that we did approve in the agenda, and I just wanted to highlight, is a resolution to ensure a complete count of Torrance Unified School District communities, families, and students in the 2020 census. And I wanted to highlight this because they are very concerned about individuals participating in the census and being counted in the census. Is really important for parents and community members to ensure everyone is counted, because it will maximize our political representation and funding appropriations throughout the county as well as the nation as a whole. So we really want to encourage folks to be part of that process. They are looking for employees, actually, to be part of the process, too. So if you want to work for them, but also participate and make sure that you and your family and everyone you know is counted in that process. And last but not least, I do have some classified employee anniversaries, last of the school year. There are some folks that have 15 years of accredited service that are being recognized as of June 1st. That's an interesting time to get hired, but that's okay. The first one's a custodian, so I understand why they'd want to hire him before the summer got started. And it's Daryl Gillebrother. And then we have 20 years of accredited service for folks that are Olivia Lim and Susan Venable. And thank you for serving our students and being with us for all that time. And last but not least, we did open the new auditorium at North High School in a very exciting ceremony that included performance by a number of different groups at the school. And it was awesome to see the auditorium as well as to see the kids on stage and using our facility, those new facilities that bond dollars have paid for. So thank you, voting folks, and for putting those bond dollars there so our kids could have that resource.
In a beautiful setting.
in a gorgeous setting. It was wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mrs. Reagans. Mr. Hahn.
Couple things. First of all, good to have Jeremy back. It's good seeing you, man. And so good. I know that it would not have been easy for you, but letting you know that our hearts and minds were with you, and it's really wonderful to have you back. And we're here for you, man. Second of all is that thank you, Katie, for the LCAP, all that summary. So that's my first time going through all that, like really going through that. So if I can know that stuff now, anybody can learn it. I was like, hey, that's not bad, man. That would really simplify it a lot. And so I think that it helped me to understand the budget a lot better. So now I know why there were certain things because of the goals. And so that kind of alignment is a lot easier. So thank you for the whole, everyone that did the LCAP thing is crazy, kind of boring, but awesome. And so necessary. But I learned a lot through the whole process. And last but not least, I just want to say congratulations to all the elementary kids that are getting promoted, middle school kids that are getting promoted, and all the seniors that are graduating from all the high schools. This is it. This is your week. Enjoy it. Congratulations. Just get through the last of the finals and make sure you show up. Congratulations to everyone.
Make sure you show up. I like that.
Or don't do anything dumb between now and Wednesday, because there's always one email. Yeah, do whatever you want to do after about 7 p.m. on Wednesday. Not that I would.
No.
Well, yeah, I have lots of boys. Anyway, a couple of things. One thing, I got to go to my middle child's graduation at UC San Diego, and that's not that, it's monumental to me, but not to anybody else. But what's interesting about him, which I always like to talk about this time of the year, is this was a 2.4, 2.5 student in high school. Went to El Camino, got in the honors transfer program, did everything required to then transfer to a UC school. He would have been barely eligible for the worst Cal State school coming out of high school. I don't think he would have been that. But he was able to go to a UC, graduate. I mean, he jumped into a pool with a bunch of kids that got there with 4.5 GPA, so he had to learn to swim pretty quick. But he made it, and it's, you know, you got a lot of parents and kids out there stressing on where they're going to go to school, and you got to go to this school or that school or, you know, whatever it may be. El Camino is a heck of a good program for your kids to do those 2 years. They mature dramatically, and then are probably, for some kids, a lot better able to handle what a four-year institution is. Just a little word to the wise that El Camino, and possibly saves you maybe $100,000, so that isn't too bad either. So, if that matters. So anyway, and in fact, quite honestly, it does matter, because, you know, people are talking a lot about, you know, student debt and debt loads and those kinds of things. 2 years at El Camino is not too expensive, and then transfer to one of these UC schools. The degree doesn't say you spent 2 years at El Camino at the bottom. So it does say University of California, and that's what it looks like, and I think it's an option for a lot of people. Yeah, this is my favorite week of the year of being a school board member with all the graduations. We had the adult school graduations last week, and Wayne was there and usual did a great job. It's always one of my favorite classes to accept, because they did not take the straight route. They took somewhat of a circling road and had to overcome a number of challenges, of which you hear about it that evening, and most of the board was there with me, and it was truly inspiring, as will every other graduation that we go through for the rest of the week. But that's always the one I kind of soft spot in my heart. And then, since I'm president and I can proclaim some things, no ties next meeting or the July meeting or any meeting until the kids come back. So if we have a meeting before the kids come back, there's no ties. You can wear a T-shirt as far as I'm concerned. That counts for staff. Don't think they will.
I know, it's like.
Okay, or wear shorts and flip-flops. I don't care, but it's casual for the summer. So with that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Yay.